Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you had an opportunity this last week to work on the first step of walking your reactive dog and teaching them how to focus on you and really being conscientious of how you're leaving the house with them and making sure that you're setting yourself and your dog up for success before you ever even walk out the door. This week, I kind of wanted to go into step 2 of the process, which is if you get into the moment and your dog, you miss the opportunity or they're not staying focused on you, you're going to have to give them a correction. Now, when I say correction, I'm meaning a gentle or sharp, quick tug on the leash to redirect them before you ever even let them escalate. So often people's timing is off. And this is so crucial. You really need to be correcting your dog before they ever even have a chance to react. That being said, you're gonna wanna work on this with your dog incrementally. So in the video that I took with Rooster, you're gonna see that we get closer and closer to the dogs that we are dealing with. Now, Rooster isn't a super reactive dog. Really, the most he does is just whine and get kind of excited. So I had to be pretty close to those dogs to get the reaction out of him that I wanted in order to show you all how crucial timing is and what that correction looks like. Now, you have to remember that the level of intensity of that correction needs to be proportionate with the level of intensity that your dog is displaying. So if your dog is mildly reacting, you don't want to like jerk them, completely sideways. You're going to want to give them just a quick, sharp tug on the leash, sideways or straight up, not pulling back because we don't want to add tension to it in order to redirect them. But if that's not working, you're going to have to get a little bit firmer in your correction. Just make sure that it's gentle but firm. And then ultimately you're going to want to change direction or something to where you can go back, refocus, and then work back to it. So we're constantly trying to challenge our dog, but also giving them those successful moments so they really understand what it is we're asking of them. Now again, in this video that I do with Rooster, I have 2 quite reactive dogs in our neighborhood that I'm using in order to get from Rooster the reaction that I need in order to help you all. But you really want to try and find a low-key dog first to, again, set your dog up for success so that they're winning at the game. So if you have a friend who you at this time can practice social distancing with, or if when you get back out into the world, you can use them. If you have a dog in your neighborhood that's just a little bit quieter, but your dog still tends to get amped up just because there's another dog, use that dog to begin with, because you can't expect your dog to settle down when another dog is already producing like a level 10 energy. Lastly, I can't stress this enough, repetition, consistency, it's all so crucial and so key. Even in the last 2 days that I've just been working on this with Rooster, who really I don't have any issue with, I have seen success in just him walking nicer by himself. Like, that's huge that even in 2 days, he himself is doing better. So for a reactive dog, depending on how much kind of rehabilitation you need to be doing with them, it might take longer, it might take a week, it might take a month. It will likely be an ongoing process with you and your dog, but I promise you, it will pay off and it will be worth it, and it will be much more enjoyable to take walks with them. Another thing I want to note is if you have a pack of dogs, make sure you're working individually with each dog. So if each dog freaks out, then obviously you're going to work through these same things with each individual dog. But what I've found is that there's usually kind of one, quote, ring leader amongst your dogs, and that's the one that, generally speaking, if you can address the issues with that dog, the issues with all of your other dogs will also dissipate. What you might find is that a dog that you didn't think was your problem child before will step in and kind of take that role. So then you just need to understand that you just have to keep working with it, read your pack, and make sure that you're being a good leader for all of them. Because ultimately, you want them to know that you have everything under control and that they don't need to be freaking out on another dog because you've got their back. You're going to protect them and you have everything under control for them so that they can just get out there and enjoy their time with you. Before I begin, I make sure that Rooster is on one side of me and walking with a loose leash. Now I'm going to give him his first correction for getting a little too focused right here. So you saw that just a sharp sideways correction, and then he starts to focus back on me, and so then I start rewarding that behavior. And we just keep walking back and forth and practicing getting closer to the dogs and making sure that he maintains focus on me when I ask for it and a loose leash the entire time. Now, as I said before, with your dog, if your dog is reactive, you are likely going to have to start on the other side of the street or maybe even further away. You can see where Rooster is able to maintain focus with me while those other dogs are barking and just overall being really intense towards him. So this is where I'm rewarding him for that behavior that he's giving me. The longer we hung around, the more interested he got in the other dogs. So here you're going to see me give him several sharp corrections until he actually continues to pay attention to me. So if that's your dog, don't be afraid to get more intense until their focus breaks and they choose to look back at you and pay attention to you. This is what I talked about at the beginning of the video. You have to match your dog's intensity. So if your dog is not ultimately doing what you ask, you're going to have to continue to ask them until they answer you. You'll also notice that I didn't start the exercise back up until I had his focus again and he could continue to walk on a loose leash around them again. So we just kept working back and forth and giving small corrections when needed or redirecting his attention. Now I'm able to redirect Rooster with treats pretty easily because he's not reactive. I also am okay with rewarding him with treats because of that same reason. Now if your dog is freaking out and barking and lunging, you don't want to try and introduce treats at that point because we don't want them thinking that they are being rewarded for those behaviors. So there you saw me give him another little correction and putting him back on my right side where I've been asking him to be, and not starting walking off until he is paying attention to me. There again was another sharp correction, and then it brings his focus back on me, at which point I can reward him. And so you're just really paying attention to your dog and making sure that you're watching for those subtle cues so that you are good on your timing and you are snapping them out of their focus before they ever even start to get too intense or misbehaving. Here I'm a little late on the correction because I started paying attention to the other dogs. I want you to remember when you're working on this to focus completely on your dog and make sure they have your full attention in order to set them up for success best. At the end, I absolutely rewarded him with that calm lower chest scratching to let him know that he did a really great job. Remember when you were in school, it's not fun to just sit and study all day. So make sure you're breaking up these training walks with a little bit of fun too. If you're out and about, let your dog sniff in between when it's safe and when it's not going to cause you to take a step back in your training, or play with them in the yard, but just make sure they're getting a little bit of recess too. If you have any questions or if these tools or strategies aren't working for you, I'd love for you to send me a video because it's a lot easier for me to be able to pinpoint and help you with different strategies that might work better for your dog than others if I can actually see what's going on. I'm always happy to help. I'm always here for you guys. I know we're in crazy times right now, but I really want to be putting together things that are useful for you, especially during this time. That being said, this basically concludes our mini series on working with reactive dogs. You just want to keep up that hard work and stay consistent with them. And remember, give yourself grace, give yourself patience, especially right now. I know we're all kind of on edge, and it's just, we're in heavy times right now. So if you're having a bad day, don't choose that time to go out and work with your dog. I promise it'll only lead to frustration, and it just won't end well for either of you. So maybe just take that time to give your dog a little massage or play with them in the yard or something like that. Next week, I want to talk about something else that I think a lot of us are facing while we're using video calls right now for work and meetings and things like that. And that is addressing when dogs bark when the doorbell rings or the UPS man or something like that shows up. We can work on reconditioning them, teaching them place so that they know where they need to be, and then teaching them quiet and get the behavior you want, which is them being quiet, through reconditioning them. As always, please reach out. Let me know what you need help with. I really am here for you. I love to help. I love to hear from you all. And in the meantime, enjoy your pup and have a great week.